Two teenage students stabbed in Scarborough.
The violence that unfolded near a Toronto high school in the search for multiple suspects tonight. Good evening. Police and emergency crews were called to a plaza near Sir Wilfrid Laurier Collegiate Institute just before 2 this afternoon.
Witnesses say that's where there was an altercation and two students were stabbed. CTV Scott Lightfoot joins us live from the scene at Guildwood Parkway and Livingston Road. Scott.
Well, Nathan, the scene here cleared several hours ago, but the police investigation, now we are expecting an update from Toronto police within the next half hour. I want to show you some video of what this looked like just around 2 o'clock when this incident happened. It all happened around 2 at a bus shelter here at Livingston Road and Guildwood Parkway. Witnesses say there was some sort of dispute between two groups. Now, someone who saw this says they saw members of both groups running away from each other, but they didn't notice anyone had been stabbed. Police say a 15-year-old and a 16-year-old, both boys, suffered minor injuries, both taken to a local hospital. Now, for a while this afternoon, police had closed a large stretch of the sidewalk that runs down towards Sir Wilfrid Laurier Collegiate Institute. We're told there was some blood evidence on the sidewalk they were trying to protect, and that one or possibly both of the injured boys ran in the direction of the school. Police say both of the injured boys are students at Sir Wilfrid Laurier. However, the incident, again, did not happen on school property. It happened near the plaza behind me here. Now, police say there were multiple suspects who left this scene. All of them were wearing black. Police sources say investigators have identified those subjects. They are actively looking for those teenagers as we speak. Again, we are expecting an update from Toronto police just about a half an hour's time. The good news here, both of the boys who were stabbed this afternoon, we're told, suffered just minor injuries. Reporting live in Scarborough, I'm Scott Lightfoot. Michelle and Nathan, back to you.
All right, thank you, Scott. We turn to a new report recommending the province phase out for-profit healthcare staffing agencies.
The call comes as data shows Ontario hospitals spent more than $9 billion on staff from those agencies over the past decade. CTV's Allison Hurst joins us live with the details. Allison.
The study found that over a 10-year period, growth on public funds spent on private agencies outpaced that spent on public hospital staff. Ontario hospitals are under pressure, forced to spend billions to pay for private agencies, a new study finds.
The Ontario government's funding and policy decisions are responsible for a province-wide hospital funding crisis that has triggered a serious workforce crisis.
The study by the Canadian Centre for Policy Alternatives found that Ontario hospitals spent $9.2 billion on nurses and other staff from for-profit agencies between the 2013-14 year and 2022-23.
The provincial government continues to encourage for-profit involvement that is destabilizing Ontario's health system.
According to the study, during that decade, public hospital spending on staff increased by 6%, outpaced by spending on private agencies, which increased by 98%.
Why does this government continue to sell out Ontarians to private companies that just gouge our healthcare system?
The report was debated at question period.
Staffing agencies are a tool used primarily in rural and northern hospitals to avoid service disruptions. In fact, it is a tool that they have been using for decades.
The research shows while the number of hours worked by agency staff in Ontario hospitals accounted for just 0.4% of all frontline workers' hours in 2022-23, 6% of the hospital's labor costs went towards private staff.
Under the Ford government, we pay more and get less for health care,
creating a reliance on them, quite frankly, and millions of dollars of debt for hospitals.
A spokesperson for the Minister of Health says in part, since 2018, our government has registered a 100,000 record number of new nurses, and we have another 30,000 nurses currently studying at one of Ontario's colleges or universities.
Ontario has become one of the most under-capacity hospital systems in the industrialized world.
The study examined financial statements from 134 Ontario hospital corporations and data from the Canadian Institute for Health Information. The study listed several recommendations, including banning private agencies, addressing the staffing shortage, and boosting the hospital-based funds to the tune of $2 billion. Reporting live, I'm Allison Hurst. Nathan, back to you.
All right, thank you, Allison. Also tonight, renewed efforts to get shovels in the ground and housing built faster. The Ontario government's new legislation that could cut red tape and speed up construction.
But first, we turn to increased anxiety in Leafs Nation.
A loss in Florida last night means the Leafs are coming home tied with the Panthers in this second round of the playoffs. CTV Sean Leathong is live outside Scotiabank Arena, where the quest for the couple continue Wednesday night. Sean.
Well, Nathan and Michelle, it is an extra day of rest before Game 5, which gives fans an extra day to think about it. But if anybody is being anxious, I talked to one person who says the team has been here before and it turned out just fine.
A chance, they score! One was all Florida would need, winning Game 4 and tying the series at 2 games apiece. And in the face of it all, Leafs fans are doing pretty well.
You know, there's still a 7-game series, so there's 2 more at home at least.
We've made it to the second round. Hopefully we can go all the way now.
I think we got a better shot since the 60s. I think this is the time to win it, and this is the year to do it. So let's go Leafs.
Frank Krupe, better known as the Hockey Illuminati, has built a social media following by being able to find connections with the Leafs of past years. And he says we need only look back to the 1962 Stanley Cup Finals between Chicago and Toronto to see the team has been here before.
Back in 1962, the Maple Leafs were playing the defending Stanley Cup champion, Chicago Blackhawks, similar to the way they're playing Florida right now, defending Cup champs. They went up 2-0 in that series at home. They then went to Chicago, lost both games at home. They allowed a total of 7 goals in those 2 games. Leafs allowed 7 goals down in Sunrise. They came back to Toronto, they won Game 5, they won Game 6, they won the Stanley Cup against the defending champs in 62. We're gonna be good.
Austin Matthews, we need you to start scoring goals again.
He's also doing all he can to help Leafs players find their form before Wednesday.
And we got 2 days here to reset. Craig Berube, our coach, will make his adjustments, okay? The 2 days off will kill Florida's momentum a little bit. We'll be ready to rock and roll in this building for Game 5.
And this morning, Coach Craig Berube said pretty much the same thing.
I think that the group understands it's going to be a tough series. We knew that going in. It's going to be a long series, and you know, we lose 2 at home here, but you know, we lost 2 against Ottawa in a row and came out in Game 6 and got it done. So
for those fans who are tempted to get down, Hockey Illuminati says this.
Save the negativity for the offseason. Save the negativity for the offseason.
So there will be a couple of days, and one note that the NHL fined Max Domi for his hit on Alexander Barkov at the end of last game, $5,000, but he will not be suspended, so we could expect much of the same lineup in 2 days' time here for Game 5. Reporting live, I'm Sean Leathong. Nathan and Michelle, send it back to you.
Thank you, Sean. Still ahead, setting the tone for his new mandate. Prime Minister Mark Carney prepares to reveal his cabinet, what CTV News has learned about the roster and the expectations at this critical juncture for Canada.
But first, a look at the forecast. Here's a live shot of the city. A warm summer-like evening. Lovely conditions. Enjoy it if you can, because we do have some wet weather on the way this week. Lindsay Morrison is here with a look at the current conditions. Lindsay.
Well, Nathan, we've been enjoying this, but all good things must come to an end, and we are in for a bit of a pattern change over the next couple of days here. Let's focus on this evening, though. It is 25 degrees in Toronto. It's a little humid in some areas, too. I've zoomed in here to show you some of the lakeside communities that are a little bit cooler today, thanks to an east and southeasterly wind, including Oakville and Burlington. 9 degrees right now in the Oakville area. There's those winds. They're not overly strong, but they are worth mentioning. All is pretty quiet on the satellite and radar imagery right now. We've had a little bit of cloud drape its way across southern Ontario, and here's what's waiting in the wings. Some wet weather in the forecast over the next couple of days. We will be dry tonight with an overnight low of about 12 degrees, but keep the umbrella handy for the next few days. We'll talk all about it coming up in your weather forecast. For now, Michelle, over to you.
Thanks, Lindsay. Sentencing is underway for a Toronto police officer found guilty in a deadly assault 4 years ago.
19-year-old Chad Facey died following the interaction with the off-duty constable. As CTV's Mike Walker reports, his family shared victim impact statements with the court today.
The family of Chad Facey delivering emotional victim impact statements at the sentencing hearing of Toronto Police Constable Calvin Au, who has been found guilty of assaulting the 19-year-old in a Kijiji deal gone bad hours before his death. This loss is not just a wound, it's a hole, and that time cannot be filled, Facey's sister Nicole Hutton told the court. He was full of light, full of promise, and he deserved so much more than this. We deserve more time with him. It was back on April 26, 2021 when Constable Au, who was off duty, chased and tackled Facey. Shortly after, Facey sold a fake Apple Watch to his friend and off-duty Toronto police officer Gurmak Benning. Facey, who had a bruise on his head, later died that night at Brampton Civic Hospital from a brain bleed. But at the trial, the Crown was not in a position to allege Au's actions caused Facey's death. Facey's mother told the court her son was a psychology student and aspiring musician. Chad was assaulted not by a random act of violence, but by individuals in positions of trust and authority, Faye Fagan said in her victim impact statement. The family telling the court they are no longer able to trust police. We have experienced deep emotional trauma, and our faith in the systems that are supposed to uphold justice and accountability has been shaken, Facey's mother said. His sister, Nicole, stating to know that someone entrusted in authority and duty would harm him has broken something inside of me. It's now difficult for me to give eye contact with police officers as I instantly get negative thoughts and flashbacks. While fighting back tears, Facey's sisters recounted when they learned of his death and the counseling they've since received while pleading for accountability. His life mattered. My brother should still be here today, and we are left with grief, with anger, and with trauma, Renee Facey told the court. The Crown is seeking a sentence of 4 months in jail, followed by 12 months probation. The defense is seeking a conditional discharge that would include probation, but doesn't register a criminal record. Au, who is currently suspended with pay, will be sentenced on June 18th. Mike Walker, CTV News.
2 firefighters were hurt and they were taken to hospital battling a blaze in Cabbagetown this morning. The 3-alarm fire broke out at a home on Aberdeen Avenue near Carlton and Parliament. A viewer captured video of the flames and smoke billowing out of the building. It spread to 2 neighboring homes, causing significant damage.
Well, it woke me up. I heard the popping. It sounded like there was a hailstorm or someone was throwing rocks at the house. And I looked out the window and the backyard's lit up. I came out and the flames, the 2 houses here, they were up in flames. The fence line was up in flames and the trees in the back, the entire backyard in the back of the 2 houses, the flames were 20 feet higher than the house. And it was loud. It's like when you hear a campfire and you hear the popping in the wood, times that by 50 is how loud it was.
Officials say the 2 firefighters' injuries are considered minor.
And take a look at this. Emergency crews were called to a West End marina this morning after a sailboat started sinking. You can see from our CTV News chopper, the docked sailboat was almost entirely submerged. This was near Lakeshore Boulevard and Humber Bay Park Road West. Toronto police say they haven't received any reports that anyone was on board the boat, and it's unclear what caused the vessel to take on water.
The province is set to release its financial plan later this week. Budget day is on Thursday.
In the lead up, today they announced new legislation to cut red tape and get homes built faster. CTV's Queen's Park Bureau Chief Siobhan Morris has the details.
An admission from the provincial government. Housing starts stuck in the mud, far off the pace to meet the goal of 1.5 million homes by 2031.
Our focus is in the next 12 to 24 months to get shovels in the ground. But is it forgotten? No way. We're not giving up.
Ontario's trying again to build faster and cheaper with new legislation, taking aim at the development charges builders pay to cover infrastructure that goes along with new homes.
We're going to delay till occupancy. We are getting rid of them with long-term care homes, and we're going to continue to support our municipal partners with needed infrastructure.
Think roads, sewers, and transit. There will be new help for those kinds of projects in Thursday's budget.
An additional $400 million in the Municipal Housing Infrastructure Program and the Housing Enabling Water Systems Fund.
The opposition supports retooling some development charges,
but to offer development fee discounts to a $1.5 million condo doesn't make sense.
Ontario's proposing to block municipalities from asking builders for extra studies on a project and end standards beyond the building code, say on green initiatives. The Liberals call it overreach, but the party's ex-leader turned mayor of Vaughan has a plea.
I want to urge them to do their job, to do it thoughtfully, but to work with Minister Flack, Premier Ford, and the rest of the cabinet ministers and government caucus to pass this legislation.
The current leader says she understands Del Duca's desperate to kickstart building.
Now, he himself has cut his development charges in half, which is great, but he's not being made whole by this government.
Ontario's also trying to accelerate construction of big infrastructure projects and mines, including in the Ring of Fire. The proposals laid out in another bill, Bill 5. They've sparked anxiety in some First Nations communities.
Can't you see that this will hurt us a lot if you bulldoze what we have?
But there's also a sense of resolve.
We're not afraid of police officers. We're not afraid of guns. We're not afraid of tractors.
The government maintains its duty to consult Indigenous communities on things like mines will be respected. But now those consultations will happen on the entire project, not every step along the way. At Queen's Park, Siobhan Morris, CTV News.
From Queen's Park to Ottawa, where the Prime Minister is putting the finishing touches on his new cabinet.
Canadians will find out tomorrow morning who Mark Carney thinks can deliver quickly on his promise to set the country on a new path. CTV's Rachel Aiello reports.
Behind closed doors, Mark Carney and his transition team have been preparing to present who will take the lead on making the Liberals' campaign commitments come to life.
Taking these decisions around who is going to be in the ministry sets the tone for the entirety of the mandate.
Focus cabinet.
After appointing a slimmed-down ministry just before the election, CTV News has confirmed that Carney's cabinet roster is expected to stay under 30 people, but the Prime Minister's office says Carney will be installing essentially a two-tiered team. There will be a core group of cabinet ministers that will lead on the big files such as trade and Trump, and then there will be up to 10 secretaries of state, who in addition could be picking up less pressing portfolios or assist main ministers on specific files. This ministry, as it'll be called, isn't likely to be involved in all cabinet work, according to the PMO. CTV News has also confirmed that more than half of the MPs walking up to Rideau Hall tomorrow will be new faces. Someone who was in the room when the last Prime Minister was making these decisions said to expect Carney to leverage having a more regionally diverse roster and recruits with big resumes.
The prime consideration for Mr. Carney is going to be who has the skills to take the decisions and to lead at this critical moment for our country. Period. End of sentence.
As for what Canadians want to see this government focus on, Canada-US relations tops the list, according to Nanos Research, followed by affordability, healthcare, housing, and tax cuts. Rachel Aiello, CTV News, Ottawa.
The United Nations top aviation authority has ruled Russia was responsible for the downing of a Malaysian airliner over Ukraine. 298 passengers and crew were killed, including a man from Ajax. Malaysian Airlines flight MH17 was shot down over eastern Ukraine in July of 2014 during fighting between pro-Russian separatists and Ukrainian forces. The Council of the International Civil Aviation Organization says it will consider in the coming weeks what form of reparation is in order. In 2022, Dutch judges convicted 2 Russian men and a Ukrainian man in absentia of murder.
In the Middle East, the Gaza Health Ministry says an Israeli attack killed 16 people today. Local health officials say the strike was on a school-turned-shelter in the Jabalia area, and women and children were among the casualties. A number of people were also injured. Israel's military says it had targeted Hamas fighters who were preparing an attack. After ending a ceasefire 2 months ago, the Israelis are intensifying their offensive in the Gaza Strip, and a 10-week blockade on food, medicine, and other supplies is continuing amid a humanitarian crisis there.
An Israeli-American hostage crossed into Israel today after being released by Hamas. A convoy of Red Cross vehicles carrying Idan Alexander drove to a crossing where he was received by Israeli soldiers. The last American being held had spent 19 months in captivity. Hamas said it was freeing the Israeli-American soldier as a goodwill gesture to U.S. President Donald Trump, who's visiting the region this week. Qatar and Egypt say Alexander's release is an encouraging step towards new ceasefire talks. Israel is sending a delegation to Qatar on Thursday to discuss a new proposal intended to secure more hostage releases.
And Donald Trump has now left for that visit to the Middle East. The U.S. president departed Joint Base Andrews today. He is making a brief stopover in the UK before traveling on to the Middle East. Trump will not be visiting Israel, nor will he be engaging in any direct talks with Iran over its nuclear program. But he has meetings planned in Saudi Arabia, Qatar, and the United Arab Emirates. The week-long trip is intended to focus on trade and investment. Before leaving, Trump spoke about a deal reached with China to roll back most of their recent tariffs and call a 90-day truce in their trade battle.
First of all, that doesn't include the tariffs that are already on, that are our tariffs, and it doesn't include tariffs on cars, steel, aluminum, things such as that, or tariffs that may be imposed on pharmaceuticals, because we want to bring the pharmaceutical businesses back to the United States, and they're already starting to come back now based on tariffs.
The U.S. has agreed to drop its 145% tariff rate on Chinese goods down to 30%. Beijing will lower its rate on American goods to 10%. The tariff reductions were announced following 2 days of talks in Geneva. Stock markets rallied sharply today.
And Trump suggested today he could make a side trip to attend possible peace talks between Ukraine and Russia this week. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has challenged his Russian counterpart to participate in face-to-face discussions in Turkey on Thursday. But there's been no direct response from the Kremlin. Moscow has indicated it would take part in the talks, but has refused to say who might travel to Istanbul from the Russian side. It has also effectively rejected an unconditional 30-day ceasefire proposed by the U.S. and the Europeans. Zelensky says he supports the prospect of Trump attending the negotiations.
At the Vatican, Pope Leo XIV conducted his first news conference with the world's media today.
Let me therefore reiterate today the Church's solidarity with journalists who are imprisoned for seeking and reporting the truth, while also asking for their release. The suffering of these imprisoned journalists challenges the conscience of nations and the international community, calling on all of us to safeguard the precious gift of free speech and of the press.
The pontiff spoke in an audience with about 6,000 reporters who were in Rome to cover his election. He called for journalists to use words for peace, to reject war, and to give voice to the voiceless.
The Northern Lights can offer a pretty spectacular sight, but scientists say auroras elsewhere in our solar system are even more intense. New images from the James Webb Space Telescope reveal they are hundreds of times brighter on Jupiter. The dancing lights appear when high-energy particles from space collide with atoms of gas in the atmosphere near the planet's magnetic poles. That's similar to how the Northern Lights happen on Earth. But Jupiter's version has much greater intensity, according to an international team of scientists who analyzed the images taken on Christmas Day in 2023. The telescope previously captured Neptune's glowing auroras in the best detail yet. They were first faintly detected many decades ago during a flyby of the Voyager 2 spacecraft.
Coming up, inside specialized vehicles, up close with tactical officers, the mounted unit, and all things policing. Police Week is underway, a chance to interact with officers as they aim to build connections with the community.
And I'm Pat Foran. Coming up on Consumer Alert, we had a recent story about a woman who gave $50,000 to a psychic to help a man fall in love with her. Following our report, we heard from others who feel they were also scammed by psychics. I'll have an update. That story is just ahead.
Well, let's focus on a few silver linings here. Any wet weather this week will be good for lawns and gardens. No day this week is looking like a washout. In fact, it's really just a chance of showers each day. And temperature-wise, we're not cooling down all that much. We're going to remain at or above the seasonal average, with an exception. We'll take an early look at your long weekend forecast coming up. And stay with us. We've got another full night of great shows for you right here on CTV.
Some people believe in the power of psychics and visit with them for palm readings and spiritual guidance.
But if a psychic makes unrealistic promises and asks for a lot of money, that should be a red flag that something isn't right. Here's Pat Foran and Consumer Alert. Pat.
Thanks, Nathan and Michelle. We had a story 3 months ago about a woman who gave a psychic more than $50,000. Following our report, we heard from other people who also gave psychics large amounts of money.
It's a trap.
Joanne Whalen went to a psychic who promised her she could make a man at the gym fall in love with her. It started with $500, but eventually she handed over more than $50,000. The love connection never did happen.
I said to her, why isn't anything happening for me? All I'm doing is paying you money.
When we did the story, the psychic said she would give Waylon her money back, but she didn't.
I was so trapped in it mentally.
We also heard from a man named Ray who asked us not to identify him. His wife had died and he started online dating. He went to a psychic to find out if a woman he met would be a good match.
He was telling me the girl likes you very much.
The psychic said he could make the woman fall madly in love with him.
The girl loves you more. It's like that.
If you give $12,000.
Yeah.
Ray married the woman, but they immediately had problems. The psychic said he could repair the relationship for more money. They told you they'd fix your marriage.
Yeah.
And did they fix your marriage?
No.
Ray gave 3 psychics $75,000. Another man, HJ, also asked us not to show his identity. A psychic told him he was controlled by demons.
That whatever demon was in me or my family would be removed.
The psychic kept asking for more money, and HJ was told if he paid it, the demons would be purged and he would win a huge jackpot.
He did some prayers, he said, and then what he did is he said, "Oh, you're a lucky man. You can win the lottery and all that."
In the end, HJ gave the psychic $80,000.
I'm an idiot. I'm sorry. I feel like an idiot. Total idiot. I let this thing happen to me.
They're really like any other type of fraud. They're targeting vulnerabilities.
Detective David Coffey says psychic frauds are not always reported, and there's no guarantee victims will have their money returned. But he says charging large amounts of money and making unrealistic claims is illegal.
The criminal code's quite clear, though. Fraud is when somebody uses deception to defraud another person.
Both Ray and HJ say giving away so much money has ruined their finances, and they're not sure how they'll recover. And beware of any psychic who claims they can see the future or make someone fall in love with you. And watch out for anyone charging large amounts of money to remove spells or witchcraft. It's a scam. On your side, I'm Pat Foran.
If you have a consumer story idea, email us at alert@ctv.ca.
Well, we have had days of gorgeous weather now. The blue skies today felt even warmer. It's really nice, but we do know that it's about to change.
Yeah, we came off a lovely weekend and it continued today, and I'm hoping it continues for a while, but it looks like we're going to have a little bit of rain.
Well, the temperature situation is going to continue somewhat. We're trending at or above seasonal really over the next several days here, but we are looking at the potential for some wet weather as soon as tomorrow, and really there's a chance of showers every day as we inch closer to the long weekend, but it's also not looking at like a significant amount of rain at this point. Let's talk about today. It was beautiful out there, much like the weekend, and it's that time of year where outdoor sports are back and happening. This was Woodbine Beach earlier today, a little beach volleyball happening, and I know that the evening forecast is going to become important as many children have activities on after school, and adults too, looking to get outside and be active. Let's talk about where there is in fact summertime heat right now, and that is southern Manitoba and northwestern Ontario. Heat warnings are in place. Take a look at the current temperature in Winnipeg, Manitoba. It is 35 degrees. That's the core temperature, not what it feels like with the humidity. Not quite as warm in other parts of northern Ontario. We have been pretty warm today in the south. 25 is what we're forecasting, is what we're at, I should say, right now in Toronto. 26 in the London area. And look at Bancroft. 27 degrees, even as we enter the early part of the evening. Overnight tonight, we drop to a low near 12. Overnight low on average at this point in the season is 9 degrees, so we are warmer than normal. Tomorrow is a bang-on seasonal day. 19 is what we're forecasting at Pearson. I do want to mention that it is going to be cooler once again for communities right along the shoreline of Lake Ontario, especially around Oakville, Burlington, and Hamilton, thanks to an east wind. It's also going to be a bit more of a cloudy day with the chance of showers beginning. Here's what we're tracking. A low stateside. It's already starting to drift some cloud cover into southern Ontario. We're going to have more with a look at your weather a little later on. But for now, Michelle and Nathan, I'll send it back to you.
Thank you, Lindsay. We want to return to our top story. 2 students stabbed near Sir Wilfrid Laurier Collegiate Institute this afternoon. Police are providing an update as we speak. Let's listen in live.
2 people had been stabbed near this intersection. Officers arrived on scene and located 2 victims with injuries. They were transported to the hospital by Toronto Paramedic Services and are being treated for non-life-threatening injuries. Officers have determined that both victims, they're both students at a nearby school. There was an altercation between the victims and a group of suspects near the intersection, which resulted in the victims being stabbed. The suspects were described as wearing black clothing, and they fled the area after the altercation. Again, I want to stress this altercation did not occur on school property. We understand how concerning these types of situations can be for students in the area, their parents, their families, staff at the school, and members of the public, people in the area. But be assured that we are dedicating all the necessary resources to locate and apprehend those responsible. We're asking anyone with information to get in contact with officers from 43 Division. They can be reached at 416-808-4300, or they can report information anonymously at Crime Stoppers, 416-222-TIPS. Again, it's very early in this investigation, so I'm very limited in what information I can provide, but I can try to answer a few questions.
Can you speak to, did the suspects know the victims? Did they know each other?
Again, I don't have that information. It's still early in the investigation. We are dedicating all the necessary resources to locate those responsible and to apprehend them.
How many suspects are you looking for?
Pardon me?
How many suspects are you looking for?
I just know that there was a group of suspects. I don't have the specifics on that, but again, anyone with information, we're asking them to come forward, report it to 43 Division, 416-808-4300, or Crime Stoppers.
Do you know indication that this might have been like a group kind of fight, like a cluster of like 10 or 12 different boys all together, and then this sort of happened, and then they dispersed? There are probably guys within this group who are affiliated with the suspects, but maybe didn't commit the act, or were there or witnessed it, or something like that. What do you say to those individuals?
So again, I can't speak to the specifics of how many suspects there were. I can tell you that there were 2 victims that were located here with non-life-threatening injuries that were transported to hospital, and we're dedicating all the necessary resources to try to identify the people that are involved
Toronto Police
and to arrest
an update on a stabbing. This happened near Sir Wilfrid Laurier Collegiate just before 2 o'clock this afternoon. They say that there were 2 victims. They're both being treated. They're students at a nearby school. The altercation occurred not on school property. The descriptions are vague. They're wearing dark clothing. They're asking for the public's help. Earlier, police did say the victims are 15 and 16 years old. Injuries are minor. And again, they're asking for the public's help. Now, of course, we're going to continue to follow that story. Also tonight, celebrating Ontario nurses and their tireless work while prescribing changes to the healthcare system. But a new report from Ontario nurses reveals as Nurses Week gets underway.
Florence Nightingale, a pioneer of modern nursing, was born on this day in 1820.
It's also the start of Nursing Week. And as our health reporter Pauline Chan tells us, to mark the occasion, Ontario nurses have released a list of recommendations for Ontario's healthcare system.
This is National Nursing Week at Humber River Hospital and across the country. For Ashley Dindyal, a childhood looking after her grandparents and later even her parents sparked her career interest.
It really drove me to want to become a nurse, and it led me to surgery.
But as we celebrate the dedication of nurses, the Registered Nurses Association of Ontario, or RNAO, is looking to the future.
We are extremely proud to release ECHO 4.0, Enhancing Community Care for Ontarians.
The document lays out recommendations for the nursing profession in Ontario.
We call for a shift from hospital-centric services to prevention-focused, people-centered care.
Doris Greenspun points out the factors that have put increasing pressures on nurses.
We do not have easy or timely access to primary care. There is a toxic drug crisis, and supervised consumption service sites have been ordered to close, leaving people to die in our streets and alleys. Many people are tenuously housed, and homelessness is growing.
Dindyal says for her, retention of nurses is a priority, especially since the pandemic.
You always want to give not only 100%, but 110%. And having the limited of resources, having the amount of acuity, having to deal with hallway medicine to support that, it was a lot, and it becomes something that you mentally carry.
The report calls for a rebalancing of investments in primary care, home care, and long-term care. Pauline Chan, CTV News.
And this afternoon, CTV received a response from the health minister's office saying, in part, since 2018, our government has added 100,000 new nurses and 15,000 new doctors, including a more than 10% increase in family doctors, launched the first new nursing program in over 20 years, expanded the scopes of practice for RNs, RPNs, and nurse practitioners, and broken down barriers for healthcare workers to enter the workforce. The minister's office adds they continue to build on this progress with a $2.1 billion investment through its primary care action team.
The Princess of Wales is marking Mental Health Awareness Week with a tribute to the power of nature.
Over the past year, nature has been my sanctuary. Connecting to nature helps us to experience a deeper sense of ourselves, the world around us, and each other.
Kate spoke about the importance of the natural world in a video posted to X today. It also features images of her husband and the landscape in the UK. The video is the first in a quarterly series called Mother Nature, which will mark each season. This one celebrates spring.
Here at home, the mayor's office says the price to park at TTC lots will not be going up. The comment comes after a report proposed hiking rates this summer in an effort to generate additional revenue for the city. The report is set to go before the Transit Board on Wednesday and recommends increasing prices at 10 of the 23 lots in the city. A spokesperson for the mayor says a motion will be introduced at the board meeting to defeat the increase.
A busy downtown Toronto intersection will fully close for 2 months this summer as crews replace 142-year-old water mains in the area. The work at King and Church started yesterday, reducing traffic to 1 lane in each direction. Construction will ramp up in July when the intersection will fully close for the replacement of pipes and streetcar tracks that run through King and Church. It's not expected to be complete until the end of August.
After the break, more evidence Canadians are putting the brakes on travel to the U.S. The number of trips by car and flights across the border dropped last month. We'll tell you by how much.
Updating our top stories, 2 teenagers suffered minor injuries after being stabbed following what witnesses say was a dispute near a bus shelter. It happened down a sidewalk from Sir Wilfrid Laurier Collegiate, where both teens are students. Police are looking for multiple teenage suspects who they have identified.
Provincial government continues to encourage for-profit involvement that is destabilizing Ontario's health system.
A study by the Canadian Centre for Policy Alternatives recommends phasing out for-profit healthcare staffing agencies. The study found Ontario's hospitals spent $9.2 billion on staff from those agencies between the 2013-2014 and 2022 and 2023. The province says total hours by agency staff in hospitals is less than 2% of total hours worked.
Well, there's still a 7-game series, so there's 2 more at home at least.
Leaf fans keeping a positive outlook after their team lost a 2nd straight game to the Florida Panthers. The series heads back to Toronto Wednesday night, all tied up. But the coach is optimistic, pointing out the Buds also lost 2 against Ottawa in round 1, but prevailed in the end.
Remember to keep up to date day and night at ctvnewstoronto.ca and by downloading the CTV News app. And if you have a news tip, photos, or video of breaking news, let us know.
Canadians are clearly not over the threats that have come from the U.S. And as BNN Bloomberg's Mirella Fernandez tells us, trips across the border are down.
This is a trend that started earlier this year with Canadians spurning trips to the U.S. For April, StatsCan is reporting a 35% drop in the number of Canadians driving to the States and a 20% drop in those flying. Numbers have been falling off for months since U.S. President Donald Trump started referring to Canada as the 51st state. Here's how the trading day ended. The Canadian dollar is down, hitting $71.50. West Texas Intermediate is up close to $1 to $61.56. Our fix on Western Canadian Select has it up 94 cents to $51.33. And the TSX is up 174 points today to 25,532. Those are your business headlines. I'm Mirella Fernandez.
The Business Report is brought to you by Canadian Western Bank, the bank built for business.
A new report indicates the Ontario cottage market has paused amidst economic uncertainty. RE/MAX says it is seeing concern among buyers and sellers, and year-over-year prices have declined across half of all regions, ranging of between 1 and 20.3%. That's largely because of increases in available inventory. Lower interest rates motivated buyers last year. Economic instability is holding them back in 2025. But 34% of Canadians who are considering purchasing a cottage in the next 2 years see it as a good investment.
A push for unionization is brewing at Starbucks, where 5 Ontario locations have ratified their first collective agreements. The coffee shop employees have joined the United Steelworkers Union. A previous attempt to unionize in Canada failed in 2023 when the coffee giant closed the country's only unionized location in Vancouver. In the U.S., the union movement started with 1 store in 2021. Now Starbucks Workers United represents about 570 stores and 11,000 workers.
The Toronto Raptors have a 7.5% chance of securing the first overall pick following tonight's NBA draft lottery. The Raptors finished with the 7th worst record in the league. This season, the last time they were in this position was in 2021 when they moved up to 4th overall and selected Scotty Barnes. This year, Duke freshman Cooper Flagg is expected to be selected 1st overall. The lottery gets underway at 7 o'clock in Chicago.
The series so far. In quick, Himlarova to Liz Sheppers. She scores!
The Toronto Scepters were in Minnesota last night for Game 3 of their first-round playoff series. The Frost scored 3 goals in the first 8 minutes. The Scepters battled back, but were unable to complete the comeback. They ended up losing the game 7-5. Toronto looks to avoid elimination when they return to the ice in Minnesota on Wednesday.
And he hits this one to deep right field. It's gone.
Toronto Blue Jays have the night off after a big series in Seattle over the weekend. The Jays came out swinging yesterday with 15 hits in the game. They went on to win 9-1, sweeping the series. Next up, the Jays return home against Tampa on Tuesday.
Just ahead, behind the badge, celebrating those who serve while efforting to foster a better connection with the community. Police and the public up close and personal in honor of Police Week.
Tonight, a significant shift on cross-border travel by car.
I'm not traveling to the U.S. He's more open to traveling to the U.S.
What's behind the downturn ahead of the unofficial kickoff to summer? Later on CTV National News.
And a reminder, the CTV News at 6 podcast is available as a download every weeknight. And a special What's Up to those of you listening to the newscast live on News Talk 1010.
Well, their mandate is to serve and protect, and everyday officers put their lives on the line to keep communities safe.
That important work, the focus of Police Week in Ontario. CTV's Janice Golding has the details.
A whole slew of dignitaries and officers from a variety of units turned out in force at Fairview Mall today. Police connecting with the communities they serve and raising awareness about the services they provide.
Because safety in our city takes many forms, and it relies on the Toronto Police Service being connected to the citizens it protects.
The theme for Police Week this year is Protecting Ontario.
We know that the presence of police and ease of access to our members matters for the safety and well-being of our communities.
Scores of officers on hand to talk to members of the public, community members who were also invited to check out equipment they don't normally have access to, like command vehicles, forensic identification services vehicles, K-9 unit, and emergency task force vehicles.
It's super cool. Like, I've never seen this stuff in person before. I've never seen anything like this before. I really like the classic cars they have out.
Police Week was first celebrated in 1970 to coincide with Peace Officers Memorial Day, which is observed in the United States on May 15th to pay tribute to fallen and injured officers.
What our police officers do every day makes a real difference in people's lives. And they do it no matter the danger, no matter the threat, and no matter the odds.
The focus of Police Week is working together to enhance public safety and prevent crimes to achieve safer and healthier communities.
Very important. Like, this community engagement is invaluable. Like, you need this stuff.
someone in their position ever wants to feel disconnected from the community, especially when they're trying to serve the community.
I think it makes me feel safer, and knowing that the police aren't that far from the community.
Police Week started yesterday and will run through to Saturday, May the 17th. Janice Golding, CTV News.
You know, when you see police officers in shorts, another sign that we're close to summer.
Oh, so warm today, beautiful, and yesterday was fabulous.
Yes.
And yes, we've got rain, but I think what I took from what you said earlier was the fact that the temperature's not too bad, at least the whole week.
Yeah, we're not really cooling down all that much. We will a little bit for tomorrow. Let's take a look at your wake-up weather. We're going to wake up to double-digit temperatures, so there's that. And then we're looking at a seasonal afternoon high of 19 degrees, so a little bit cooler than today. We could also have some sunny breaks in the morning, but then here's what happens. The cloud cover increases. There's the first round of showers potentially in the morning. Notice how this is not an all-day rain. We're going to have periods of dry weather, maybe even sunny breaks through the next few days. The rain could get a little bit steadier Tuesday overnight and into Wednesday, but look at Wednesday afternoon, some clearing once again. There's just no day in particular over the next couple here that looks rain-free. There's the chance of showers really throughout. And over the next 48 hours, we can plan on 5 to 10 millimeters of rain. That's not a lot, maybe just enough to give the lawns and the gardens a little bit of a drink. Your forecast daytime high for tomorrow, as mentioned, is 19 degrees. That is seasonal. Let's take you through the 7-day forecast, though. We're back into the 20s Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, too. I know this looks a little bit gloomy, but again, no day is a washout. Into the long weekend, we're going to start off a little unsettled and mild. Then we will dry out, but become a little cooler. Nathan and Michelle.
Appreciate the heads up. Thank you, Lindsay. That's it for us, but you can join Omar Sajidina at 11 tonight for CTV National News, followed by Zurada Almond with our next local newscast at 11:30.
In the meantime, our coverage continues anytime on CP24 and at ctvnewstoronto.ca.
For Lindsay Morrison and the whole team here at CTV News, thanks for watching and have a great night.